There is no way one can readily tell which flight path the aircraft is doing by watching the so-called conventional indicators, that is, attitude indicators and horizontal situation indicators. A flight director, for example, indicates a pitch and a roll angle that will presumably lead the aircraft to do a certain path as programmed on the flight director. So the final goal is a path, but the path is not directly indicated. Lack of flight path indication forces the pilot to watch other instruments, such as the vertical speed indicator, and mentally understand what the flight path situation is. The energy situation, in turn, is what is happening in terms of losing or gaining speed if the current thrust setting and flight path are maintained. Pilots have to watch the behavior of the indicated airspeed as a function of time to mentally understand what the energy situation is. Energy situation is important because it indicates whether the present flight situation is sustainable or not. Lack of awareness of the energy situation combined with momentary distractions can lead the aircraft at too low or too high speed. Can anything be done to increase the crew awareness of the flight path and energy situations? Yes, certainly. That is exactly what is available on the Embraer 170-190. This new family of aircraft features flight path vector indication in addition to the traditional flight director, except during takeoff. Traditional crossbars are shown to the pilot during takeoff. However, shortly after takeoff, the flight path guidance takes over and is shown for the remainder of the flight. Flight path vector is possible because of the new high-precision laser-based inertial reference systems. The flight path is very dynamical, and information from air data computers, which are based on the anemometric system of the aircraft, are too slow to respond, and consequently unfit for flight path indication. The pilot can maneuver and fly the aircraft FPA to the desired vertical angle. For example, if the pilot positions flight path above the horizon line, the aircraft is climbing. If below the horizon line, the aircraft is descending. If the pilot positions flight path to overlay the -3 line on the PFD, then the aircraft is tracking a -3 degree approach angle. When the aircraft is on a level flight, the flight path indication is exactly on top of the horizon. So, to do a level turn, it is just a matter of keeping the flight path indicator glued to the horizon, and the maneuver is done with high precision, that is, with no altitude variation, even without watching the rate of climb indicator. A common misconcept that often happens is the unawareness of the difference between flight path and attitude. It is quite normal when a pilot first contacts the aircraft. The pitch angle is indicated by the fixed reference. This angle is different from the flight path angle. For example, sometimes when the angle of attack is high, the flight path angle can be negative, while the pitch angle is positive. The flight path indicator is raw data. It is not a flight director. It does not provide any guidance. However, it is far more informative than an attitude indicator. It is important to keep in mind that the flight path angle is not affected by wind. No matter what the wind is, the flight path angle always holds true. Of course, the FPA mode of the flight director autopilot can be used to automatically track the desired flight path angle. The flight path indicator is slightly different from the flight path indicators found on head-up systems, in that it moves up and down only. Those in head-up systems generally move from side to side too as a function of the side slip angle. But Embraer has elected to make the flight path angle indicator move up and down only, to make the indication more user-friendly and to make the transition from a traditional PFD to flight path vector less difficult. During an ILS, when fully established on the localizer and glide slope, the flight path indicator will coincide with the published glide slope angle. When the ILS is flown raw data without flight director, the flight path angle indicator is very handy. In that case, the crew should verify the glide slope angle during the approach briefing and prepare to use a figure as a reference for that flight path indication during the raw data approach. This technique is much better than a raw data approach based on attitude only. The flight path indicator can be helpful during approaches to poorly illuminated runways without approach path lights and surrounded by dark areas. In that case, the pilot not flying can monitor the flight path angle and call out any excessive angle so that corrections are made in a timely manner. Many things associated with a flight path vector are inertial. The indicated flight path angle is based on ground speed and vertical inertial speed. Consequently, it will only move if the aircraft either changes the ground speed or changes its vertical inertial speed. Then we can conclude that horizon gusts will not change the flight path vector as long as they do not change the ground speed. In a nutshell, the flight path indication shows the real geometric flight path of the aircraft. A very positive spin-off of this feature is a non-precision approach can be flown very precisely if the final approach path angle is known. It is just a matter of using the flight path angle mode, because that angle will hold true regardless of how much headwind or tailwind there is. One may ask, but the initial transition to a missed approach should also be based on pitch. So why aren't crossbars shown when the missed approach is commenced? This is a good point. As a matter of fact, the vertical control law behind the flight path vector, when a missed approach has just been selected, is pitch-based. But as the aircraft is in flight, the system does not reverse calculation and provides a guidance towards a flight path. It uses the target initial pitch as a reference and calculates the flight path that would produce that pitch and provides guidance towards that flight path. Another interesting symbology related to the FPA is the acceleration cue, a chevron that moves up and down beside the left wing. It depicts the acceleration or deceleration of the aircraft along the flight path and is useful as a throttle control indicator. When the acceleration cue is above the wing of the flight path symbol, the aircraft is accelerating. When it is below the flight path wing, the aircraft is decelerating. To maintain a steady state, neither accelerating nor decelerating, the acceleration cue symbol is positioned pointing to the flight path wing. We can say that the acceleration cue is, in a way, a speed trend indication. But there are important differences between the acceleration cue and a speed trend indication, as shown along the speed tape. First difference is, the speed trend indicator is ADC based, while the acceleration cue is inertial. In other words, a momentary horizontal head-down gust would cause the speed trend to stretch up, then shrink down. The same gust would barely move the acceleration cue because the change of ground speed during a brief gust is very small. The second and perhaps more relevant difference between a speed trend indicator and the acceleration cue is the scale. The size of the speed trend indicator is generally a function of what the speed will be in 10 seconds, while the acceleration cue shows how much up the flight path can go without decelerating with the current thrust setting, or how much down it can go without accelerating. Finally, there is the speed error symbol. This symbol is a rectangle attached to the left side of the flight path indicator. It just tells whether the current speed is less or more than the speed selected on the guidance panel. The acceleration cue symbol can be used in combination with the airspeed error symbol to maintain target airspeed. For example, when the airspeed error tape is above the wing of the flight path symbol, the throttles can be adjusted to bring the position of the acceleration cue symbol below the wing of the flight path symbol by approximately the same distance. As airspeed decreases and the airspeed error symbol approaches the null position at the wing, the throttles can be adjusted again so that the acceleration Q symbol rises to the wing at approximately the same rate. If we want to start a descent at a constant speed, such as during an ILS approach, we just have to reduce the throttles following the FPA down to the glide slope angle. We will make now a few important considerations. Flight path and pitch are totally different things. The difference between them is the angle of attack. So, if the difference flight path indicator and pitch is big, then the angle of attack is high. That is the typical scenario encountered during wind shear situations, where the guidance is aimed at preventing as much as possible contact between the aircraft and the ground. Due to its unique characteristics, experience has shown that the use of wind shear guidance based on flight path is more effective than the use of traditional guidance based on altitude indication, and the success rate is higher. Flight path vector. A new and exciting world. The comments made during this video offer a glimpse into its potentialities. As pilots get more acquainted with the flight path symbols and use them in their full potential, the end result is a safer and far more precise flying.